Hey everyone, and welcome back to Noticias Sin Fronteras. Sometimes it feels like we're constantly bombarded with new information, and it can be really hard to cut through all the noise and figure out what's truly important.
It really can. There's just so much out there.
That's exactly why we love doing these deep dives. For this one, we took a whole bunch of different sources about something pretty fascinating and boiled it down to the core, so you can walk away with a clear, concise understanding.
That's right. And the focus for today: the spring equinox of 2025. We're going to be looking at news articles and digging into some history. Basically, we want to unravel the most important parts of this yearly event. It's something that's deeply rooted in both astronomy and human culture.
Exactly. We'll be exploring the astronomical significance, of course, but also how ancient civilizations viewed the equinox, the different ways it is celebrated around the world, the beliefs and traditions associated with it, and of course, some of the most notable places to actually witness it.
Our mission. We want you to have a comprehensive understanding of this celestial event and its impact, both past and present.
Perfect. So to kick things off, let's start with the basics. The astronomical significance. The spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere occurs on March 20th in 2025, specifically at 9:01 UTC.
Yep. Coordinated Universal Time, of course, the global time standard. Now, for those of you in peninsular Spain, that translates to 10:01 in the morning. And for listeners in central Mexico, well, that's 3:01 a.m.
A little early for our friends in Mexico, but hey, that's the equinox for you. So when we say equinox, what exactly does that word mean?
Right, so equinox comes from the Latin equinoctia, meaning equal night. During the equinox, the length of day and night is almost identical all across the planet, roughly 12 hours each. It's basically a point of equilibrium in the distribution of sunlight.
So wait, this almost equal day and night thing, that happens more than once a year, right?
That's right. It occurs twice a year, actually. Once in March, which marks the beginning of spring in the Northern Hemisphere and autumn in the Southern Hemisphere, and again in September with the reverse change of seasons.
Got it. It's kind of like a symmetrical phenomenon throughout the year. But what causes this? What's actually happening in space to create this balance?
Well, it all comes down to the tilt of Earth's axis. During the equinox, this tilt is, you could say, neutralized relative to the sun. The sun's rays hit the equator directly, perpendicularly, leading to that even distribution of light across both hemispheres. Imagine Earth rotating. During the equinox, its axis is neither tilted towards the sun nor away from it.
Like Earth straightens up for a moment in its orbit around the sun.
Exactly. And from that point onward, in the Northern Hemisphere, the hours of daylight start exceeding the hours of darkness. This leads to, the gradual increase in temperatures and the reawakening of nature. Flowers bloom, agricultural cycles begin. Historically, this is why spring planting would commence after the equinox.
So it's not just a change on the calendar. It's an event that really drives life on Earth.
Precisely. And its significance extends beyond nature itself. The spring equinox is actually a crucial reference point for determining the dates of other celebrations. A clear example is, calculating the date of Easter in the Christian tradition.
I never really made that connection before between an astronomical event and religious holidays.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So to sum it all up, the vernal equinox or spring equinox is a global phenomenon that symbolizes a moment of balance between darkness and light in Earth's yearly cycle. Its influence stretches to our calendars, our traditions, and even, as you said, our perception of changing seasons.
That paints a very clear picture.
Yeah.
Now let's step back in time for a bit. How far back does human awareness of this event actually go?
Well, estimations suggest that human observation of the spring equinox dates back over 10,000 years, even before there was specific terminology to describe it. Ancient hunter-gatherer communities recognized this period as, like the start of abundance, the return of migrating animals, plant regrowth. All this ensured the continuation of their means of subsistence. For them, this event was a vital transition.
Makes sense. Understanding these natural cycles was absolutely key to their survival.
Without a doubt. And so, in response to these observations, early cultures developed rituals of gratitude. They wanted to celebrate this rebirth of nature. Things like collecting the first eggs of birds in spring as a symbol of fertility, veneration of the earth for providing after the scarcity of winter. These are just a few examples. And these early celebrations actually formed the basis for many of the later myths and beliefs associated with the equinox.
So could you give us some examples of how other ancient civilizations viewed and celebrated this time?
Absolutely. In ancient Mesopotamia, the spring equinox coincided with festivals dedicated to deities linked to fertility and renewal. Babylonians honored Ishtar, the goddess of love and fertility, hoping to secure good harvest for the new agricultural cycle. In ancient Egypt, the figure of Isis, who took on attributes similar to Ishtar, became a symbol of fertility and magical regeneration. The myth of Isis resurrecting Osiris, the god of agriculture, after being murdered by Seth, represents the triumph of fertility over the aridity of winter.
Wow, that's a powerful narrative about the cycle of life and death tied to the seasons.
It is, and this theme of deities experiencing death and resurrection during this time of year is a recurring one across many ancient cultures. It reflects this deep connection that was observed between cycles in nature and spiritual beliefs.
It's fascinating how they intertwine their understandings of the natural world with their belief systems.
Precisely. Many civilizations even aligned their calendars to coincide with the spring equinox. In the Roman Empire, for example, the start of the new year was originally celebrated at the end of March. To them, this aligned with the rebirth of the Earth's fertility. And in fact, the month of March takes its name from Mars, the Roman god not only of war, but also of agriculture.
I didn't know about that dual association of Mars with both war and fertility.
It's there, and the connection extends to other traditions as well. In the Jewish tradition, Passover, or Pesach, originally known as the Festival of Spring, commemorates the Exodus, and it coincides with the first full moon after the spring equinox. Then, with the advent of Christianity, the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD fixed Easter as the first Sunday after that same full moon, integrating this universal theme of resurrection in spring.
It's amazing how one astronomical event has influenced the structure of calendars and religious holidays throughout history.
Absolutely. So, in conclusion, throughout history, the vernal equinox has been considered a sacred time associated with the cyclical renewal of life, inspiring deities, festivals, and the very structure of time itself.
Wow. Okay, so after that incredible history lesson, let's bring things to the present. How is the relevance of the equinox manifested today through global celebrations?
Well, despite the dominance of science and our understanding of the world, the spring equinox continues to be a reason for celebration in many cultures. It keeps ancient traditions alive and gives rise to new forms of commemoration. A prominent example is Nowruz, the Persian New Year, which is celebrated in Iran and by Persian communities around the globe on March 21st, or the exact moment of the equinox itself. Recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage, this event symbolizes a new day and is characterized by family gatherings, symbolic tables representing prosperity, spring cleaning, gift exchanges, and the savoring of traditional foods. It is estimated that around 300 million people in over a dozen countries participate in the festivities of Nowruz.
So a truly global celebration. Are there other significant examples?
Absolutely. In Japan, they celebrate Shunbun no-hai, or Spring Equinox Day, as a national holiday. This day is dedicated to reflecting on nature and honoring ancestors. It's common for families to visit cemeteries, taking flowers and offerings of sweets to the graves. This tradition is actually linked to the Buddhist belief of Higan, which suggests that during the equinoxes, the world of the living gets closer to the Pure Land. And what's interesting is that this date often coincides with the early blooming of cherry blossoms, adding an aesthetic element of natural renewal to the celebration.
It's a beautiful blend of respect for the past and celebration of the present.
Exactly. And, in Europe and Western traditions, even though there isn't a specific national holiday, there are many customs connected to the equinox. We already talked about Easter. But then you also have neo-pagan and Wiccan communities who celebrate Ostara. It takes its name from an ancient Germanic goddess of spring. And their rituals, well, they focus on fertility, balance, and renewal, often involving bonfires, decorating eggs, and sunrise meditations. And in some regions of Central and Eastern Europe, you still see spring cleaning traditions, and even the burning or throwing into water of effigies that symbolize winter, like the Marzana in Poland.
It's remarkable how these ancient practices persist in the modern world.
I know. And then you have Mesoamerica, particularly Mexico and Central America, where indigenous cultures have long celebrated the arrival of spring. Thousands of people gather at Mayan and Aztec sites like Chichen Itza and Teotihuacan, often dressed in white, to participate in rituals meant to recharge with the first rays of the sun. Dances, songs, offerings, all expressions of gratitude to nature for the start of the planting season.
A profound connection to the earth and agricultural cycles.
You got it. And in North America, while there's no official general holiday, some Native American nations conduct their own ceremonies. At the same time, groups of modern druids and astronomy enthusiasts gather at iconic sites like Stonehenge, and cities with large Persian communities will often hold Nowruz festivals, Even the United Nations rings the peace bell at its headquarters in New York City during the March equinox.
So many different celebrations. It truly reflects the universal importance of this moment.
It really does. From festivities rooted in antiquity to contemporary commemorations, the spring equinox is marked in countless ways across the globe.
So for those interested in experiencing the equinox in a place with special meaning, what are some iconic spots you could recommend?
There are quite a few locations around the world that offer unique ways to witness the equinox, either due to their solar alignments or their historical significance. First and foremost, Chichen Itza in Mexico. During sunset on the equinox, sunlight creates a shadow in the shape of a feathered serpent, Kukulkan, descending the steps of the main pyramid. This phenomenon, a result of the astronomical precision of Mayan architecture, attracts thousands of visitors every year.
Yeah, the image of the serpent of light descending is truly impressive.
Absolutely. Another significant site in Mexico is Teotihuacan. At dawn on the equinox, tons of people climb the Pyramid of the Sun to receive the energy of the new solar cycle. This has become a popular modern tradition, with attendees dressed in white participating in various ceremonies. And for the 2025 equinox, they've actually announced extended hours of operation from March 21st to the 23rd.
It's remarkable how these ancient ceremonial centers are still gathering points for people on such significant dates.
It really is. And then you have Xibalchaltén, also on the Yucatan Peninsula. The Temple of the Seven Dolls aligns in such a way that at dawn on the equinox, the sun shines directly through its doorway. And for the 2025 equinox, they'll be allowing access from 4:30 a.m. on March 20th for those who want to witness this phenomenon.
What an opportunity to see such precise solar alignment.
Crossing over to the other side of the continent, you have Machu Picchu in Peru. The Intihuatana stone, meaning the hitching post of the sun, casts no shadow at noon during the equinoxes. For the Incas, this symbolized the moment when the sun was directly overhead at this point.
A place of great energy and ancestral meaning.
Definitely. And then in the United Kingdom, Stonehenge offers a specially managed open access on the morning of the vernal equinox. The rising sun aligns almost perfectly with the monument stones. Druid groups are expected to perform ceremonies to welcome spring. For the 2025 equinox, access starts super early, and they're also doing a live stream of the sunset alignment.
Witnessing sunrise at Stonehenge during the equinox, that must be a truly transcendental experience.
It would be incredible. Now, shifting over to Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx also exhibit equinox alignments. The Sphinx faces east, directly receiving the sunlight at dawn on the equinoxes. And some believe that internal shafts within the Great Pyramid also align with specific stars on these dates.
The astronomical precision of these ancient constructions continues to amaze.
It's mind-blowing. And lastly, at Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the sun rises directly over the central tower of the temple when viewed from the west entrance during the equinox, an alignment of great significance in Khmer cosmology.
All these sites are a reminder of the deep connection between humanity and celestial movements.
They really are. And these are just a few examples of places where observing the equinox takes on a special dimension, revealing the sophistication of astronomical knowledge in past cultures.
So beyond astronomy and celebrations, what about the symbolism and possible prophetic interpretations associated with the equinox?
Right. Throughout history, the equinox has been imbued with meanings that go beyond simple astronomical explanation. Ancient myths of gods who die and are reborn in spring, like Osiris and Isis or Persephone in Greek mythology, symbolize the transition from darkness to light and the promise of renewal. Religious festivals that coincide with this time often reflect this theme of light triumphing over darkness. Even the Easter egg, present in many traditions, has roots in ancient symbols of fertility and new beginnings.
Nature as a mirror for the cycles of life and death in human beliefs.
Exactly. And in contemporary esoteric beliefs, the equinox is seen as a time of particular energies. Astrologers mark it as the start of the astrological year with the sun entering Aries, a time favorable for new projects and activating vitality. That's why various rituals are practiced to harmonize with this energy of the equinox, things like meditation, energy cleansing, ritual baths. Some even suggest that spiritual portals open during these periods.
A perspective more focused on energy and spiritual connection.
You got it. While specific doomsday prophecies for the 2025 spring equinox haven't really gained traction, some current interpretations focus on the idea of positive transformation and a collective awakening towards renewal. Astrologers see this as an opportunity for new ideas and dreams to take shape. Going back to mythological references, think of the meaning of the return of Kukulkan, the Japanese belief in the closeness of worlds during the equinox, Hindu associations with the Navratri festival, and even the possible origins of Easter tied to the goddess Eostre and her promise of fertility.
It's like a rich tapestry of symbolism interwoven with the equinox.
That's a great way to put it. And while the prophetic interpretations and symbolism have evolved over time, the core idea remains. The equinox is a culturally and spiritually significant moment, now seen as a call for balance and rebirth in harmony with nature.
Okay, so to provide a concrete perspective on what's happening in 2025, what specific events and festivals are planned for this spring equinox?
For the 2025 spring equinox, numerous activities have been announced around the globe. Nowruz celebrations will take place from March 20th to the 21st, with the exact moment of the new year coinciding with the equinox in Iran. The Farhang Foundation is organizing an event in Los Angeles on March 9th. UNESCO will hold a gala in Paris on the 18th, and there will be festivities in New York on both the 18th and 21st. The UN will also observe International Nowruz Day on March 21st.
So Nowruz is marking the beginning of spring in many parts of the world.
Yes. And in Mexico, archaeological sites will be the main focal points of celebration on Friday, March 21st. Large crowds are expected at Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza, with special operations in place and cultural events planned. Zibuchaltén will allow access before dawn on March 20th. Xochicalco and Cholula are also offering special activities during those days.
Mexico, with its rich ancestral heritage, always embraces these dates.
Absolutely. In Japan, Shunbun no Hai will be celebrated on March 20th, with events taking place at temples and shrines. Nature observations and commemorative ceremonies will be held in Tokyo and Kyoto. At Stonehenge, as we mentioned, there will be managed open access before dawn on March 20th, with druid ceremonies and a live stream of the sunset.
So many different ways to participate in equinox commemorations.
I know, right? Additionally, science outreach events will be taking place, like explanations at the Hayden Planetarium in New York and talks at the Royal Observatory Greenwich. Holy celebrations in India might extend to March 20th in some regions. Informal gatherings are also anticipated at the Sphinx in Egypt. And to connect globally, NASA will be releasing educational materials, and the hashtag Equinox will be promoted for sharing photos of the sun.
A way to experience the equinox from many different perspectives and locations.
Exactly. To wrap things up, the Spring Equinox of 2025 will be an event commemorated on astronomical, cultural, and spiritual levels in numerous corners of the planet.
And to conclude our deep dive, what is the cultural and spiritual relevance of all this in today's world?
You know, despite the scientific advancements in our understanding of the equinox, its cultural and spiritual significance endures. Traditions like Nowruz continue to flourish and gain international recognition, fostering unity and hope. A growing interest in ancestral roots is driving people to gather at archaeological sites during these dates. Even in secular contexts, the equinox inspires art festivals, environmental initiatives, and educational activities focused on the balance between day and night.
It's a way to keep traditions alive and connect with the past.
Absolutely. And on the spiritual side, established religions incorporate the equinox into their liturgical calendars, and alternative spiritual movements observe it directly as a sacred day of balance, performing rituals of gratitude and seeking inner harmony. The Wiccan festival of Ostara, for example, is becoming more widely practiced. The equinox has become a symbol for ecological and spiritual movements that advocate for reconnecting with nature. Many perceive it as an opportune time to do personal resets, to engage in some emotional spring cleaning, and to incorporate into wellness practices like detox retreats, guided meditations, and outdoor yoga.
It's a time for introspection and personal renewal in sync with the natural cycle.
Absolutely. Ultimately, its universal symbolic relevance lies in the representation of cyclical renewal, the resilience of nature, and the metaphor for balance in both individual life and society as a whole. The spring equinox is much more than an astronomical event. It's a living part of human culture, inviting us to celebrate the return of light and the miracle of spring.
What a comprehensive understanding of this phenomenon. We've explored its science, its history, its celebrations, and its profound meaning. Thank you for this enlightening deep dive.
My pleasure. It was a great conversation.
And to all of you who have joined us on this journey, we invite you to reflect on how the themes of balance and renewal, so inherent in the spring equinox, resonate in your own lives as we enter this new season. What new beginnings or what kind of balance are you seeking at this time?
That's a good question to ponder.
It is. And if you found this deep dive informative and fascinating, don't forget to subscribe to the Noticias Sin Fronteras channel, give this video a thumbs up, and share it so more people can stay informed. Till next time.
See you soon.
¿Cuidas la salud de tu tracto urinario? Uticarin, el suplemento dietético con múltiples ingredientes naturales que favorecen tu bienestar. Es hora de sentirte mejor, más saludable y en control. Haz clic en el enlace de la descripción y cuida de tu bienestar hoy mismo.
Suscríbete a Noticias sin Fronteras para estar siempre informado de los últimos acontecimientos. No olvides dejar tu comentario y ser parte de la conversación. Tu opinión es importante para nosotros.